Our motion can
I'd
happen.
like to make a motion to open this meeting.
Second the motion.
Okay.
Member Cyril,
Aye.
Member Dubrowski,
Aye.
Chair Pollak,
Aye.
motion passes.
Okay. Does anybody have any reason to recuse themselves or conflict of interest?
No.
Okay. Good. I can either start out with Steve or you guys to sort of explain where you are. I know you
Sure.
came in earlier some months ago and we looked over your plans and so forth, and now you're looking at starting the project, and as I understand it, there's the issue of the garage.
Yes, so I can try and frame for us the current situation.
Yep, sure.
Unless Steve, I know you're on the line, unless you would rather give your summary.
Steve?
Yes, I couldn't quite hear what he said.
Would
Do you
like-
want to tell us what's going on, or you want the applicant?
It's very hard for me to understand, but I'm here and I think, Pat, if you explain what's going on, I have left a letter. I wrote a letter today to the board with my opinion on whether, that I believe the demo is a proper thing based on the condition of the foundation and the fact that there are only 3 2x4 walls that are going to be remaining when you rip the whole top of the building off. You were going to reside anyways to change the look of the whole thing to be a 1 unit. So the plans are still the same exact plans for the finished product. The only difference is you're going to start from the ground up versus from the walls that exist up.
Right.
Yeah, so I'll give a bit more context if that's okay.
Sure.
Thank you, Steve, for that summary. So I guess going back to November of last year is when we got approval from this board for what we're calling our garage renovation project, which includes taking a single-story detached garage, putting a second floor on it, and then linking it to the home to make it one attached structure. It's still our intention to build the exact same design as approved from the ground up, like Steve said. In March, I suppose, this year, we hired a builder, Bruce Building Company, Brighton. They've done work in the village before, to be our contractors. Entered into a contract with them, agreed on the scope, terms, price, etc. And they were preparing to begin construction in earnest week ago today. On Friday, the 16th of June, they were doing some site prep, and the crew at that time, we had removed kind of a wooden deck structure between the home and the garage. There was just, a bunk grade. And at that point, they had a really good view into the substructure. And the owner of the company was there, his name's Paul, and he called me that afternoon and said, feel like the substructure is inadequate. And this is always a possibility for us, question for us. Right? Even in the design phase, whether it was with our architect or any of the builders that we spoke to, or this board, any of the 2 times, I guess either time we came before you, we didn't know exactly what lies beneath, as you often know. But we thought there would be opportunity to mitigate any potential structural issues with vertical rebar, and the removal of the slab floor in the garage would require pouring of concrete anyway. We would need a crawl space dugout for the room that would be linking the home and the garage. Again, concrete on site. We figured that could be used to fill the cores of any block that needed reinforcement. So that's a little bit of background. Paul, again, taking a look at things up close, with a few people on his crew, said he doesn't want to pursue building this new addition. Exactly what we want, approved by the board.
Yeah.
On, a literal shaky foundation. So tough pill to swallow. Because again, they were on site to prep the space that day, begin demolition and reconstruction, the following, like 2 days, 3 days later. So over the course of last week, several meetings, phone calls, et cetera, Paul came back out on site on Thursday or Friday last week and did some measurements internally. We moved as much as we could from the garage. He set up his tripod, laser level, and took measurements off of the top elevation of the block, right? So, the plate rests on the block, so we're taking measurements around. And there's in excess of 1.25 inches difference between the south wall and the north wall in several different places. So that indicates that foundation is moved. And what we've discussed with Paul is demolishing the garage, digging out the substructure, which is 2 courses of block with a footing that is roughly between 6 and 8 inches of poured concrete.
Wide or deep?
Deep. Wide off of the edge. I don't know if that's particularly relevant.
A 6-inch deep, required foundation depth is 48 inches because of frost.
Right.
So 6 inches is ridiculous, even if it's a thickened slab, even if you're pouring a slab on grade and the slab is turned down and not when this garage was apparently built, but current construction requires insulation so that you don't have frost heaving. So you have a totally insufficient structurally foundation.
That's
I get
what we've come to understand.
So
That's
you were
what it
originally-
sounded like.
You were originally going to take the roof off the garage, and that was the demo part. Now the proposal is to do the entire garage.
Yeah, and we know that in addition to, of course, removing the roof and adding the second floor, the framing, so I have here an application for a permit, October 31st, 1967, to build the garage in front of your predecessors.
Yeah.
$16 for the fee.
Times change, yeah.
But at that time, the walls were framed 2x4s. We know that's not code anymore. So even the skeleton of what's there would need to be fully reinforced, almost fully removed, to be honest. And if there were historical reasons to keep this structure in place. It was built in 1968. It was built in 1868, maybe we'd be having a different conversation, but anyway, that's kind of what what we're dealing with. We do have some pictures. I'm not sure if Steve sent anything along.
We've received no photographs, but I'm very anxious to see what you've got
absolutely.
there.
So Paul,
Sorry, they're not in color.
Paul's the
It doesn't
builder.
matter.
Paul's been in touch with Steve several times, and there you'll see different measurements of kind of below grade.
I think the top two might actually be the same, so you can share that one, but.
I was there,
Depth of-
Sorry.
yeah, so you can see, and forgive me if I'm pointing things out that you can see with the naked eye, but that's the laser dot on 37 on one wall and 38, or what are we talking about?
Yeah, 38.
38 and a half roughly on the other wall. You can even see in this one at the base, the missing mortar between blocks.
Well, this is settlement. There's nothing about this structure that would support a second floor nor conform to current building codes.
So, so the recommendation from Paul is, bring the structure down.
Yep.
Dig out the 2 block deep plus 6, 8 inches footer. Build down to the frost level, 48, you said, I believe?
48 inches.
48. And do all of that substructural work with both the garage and the area between the home,
Yeah.
Mhm.
all at once. And then we begin building the as-approved
Mhm.
addition from the ground up.
And you mentioned something about a crawl space, right?
Yeah, so there will be a crawl space, but if you
Just
have
in
the plans here, I can kind of point
One
out.
set of these,
Plans
one,
that I've-
Those are one set of plans of Steve's that he left for you.
Okay,
So they're not in your packet, they're not in the packet.
so
It's just that.
between,
Excuse me, let me interrupt a
Of
minute.
course.
Are you discussing this with Mr. Butcher? You're
Yes.
using Ted Butcher, right?
yes,
Have you discussed this with Ted?
we have, yes.
Okay, so he's going to generate
So,
new construction documents for the new areas, which should be included with the drawings for the building permit.
yeah, so we, speaking with Steve last week, he agreed that we already paid for the building permit, it was already issued. We'll
Oh, sure.
avoid that.
Yeah, yeah,
We'll come back with, yes, the redrawn, sub-ground.
right.
I hope that nothing above ground, everything that's approved, status quo.
It would be my opinion that unless you're doing something, if you're making any changes, now that you have the opportunity to do something different, which you don't want to do, but
No, we don't.
unless you're making any changes in the materials or
No.
Nothing.
massing or any of the configuration of the construction above grade.
No,
No.
nothing, no intent changes.
In my opinion, that would not require additional review from us because what's visible will be the same, but you will need new drawings for the new garage from Ted for your building permit.
For Steve.
Yeah.
For Steve specifically.
Ted Butcher needs to generate them.
Yes, I know that, yes, but,
And Steve will review them, and I expect the building permit would be issued. But it's my opinion that if everything above grade is, as has already been approved,
yes,
what's below grade is the material, except for meeting the requirements of the New York State Building Code.
yes. Yeah, of course.
This just strikes me as kind of the paradox of, how many things can you remove from the ship before it's still the same ship?
Yeah.
And so I guess my question for you is that are we needing to approve both the demolition, which is obvious, but then also, given the fact that it is properly a new structure, do we need to approve that as well?
I would say yes.
The only thing that came to you for was an approval for demolition by the HPB, because the structure is going to be exactly the same as what you approved originally. There's no change in footprint, material, anything. The only difference is I felt like they needed to come before the board because anytime we've dealt with demo of anything, it has had to come before the board for approval.
okay.
And I don't have any reason to believe that I would vote any differently. I just want to make sure that from a record-keeping perspective, that we're being as compliant as possible in approving
Understood.
this new structure, despite the facade being identical, as well as the demolition.
Steve, you got anything else to say?
Nope, and I had already talked to Pat about having Ted create new drawings before they could construct the new foundation and walls.
Okay.
Felt more like an order of events thing that we wanted to come and speak to you. Ted is in the know about all of this, but for him to do the drawings in advance of this meeting felt maybe a little out of step.
He did offer a few opinions.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that, what we've considered them. We have spoken with the builder and as is he. And, this is the course we hope to follow. So,
Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said, yeah.
Excuse me, in the email that came around, I seem to recall that you may have had a discussion about underpinning.
yes,
And this board makes decisions not on cost
Yeah.
of doing the right thing, but to do the right thing.
Right.
It's my guess that trying to underpin and re-level and restabilize the wall framing is likely to be more expensive than just getting rid of everything and starting new.
And as we kind of came to understand what that whole process entailed, it sounds quite something. Maybe it's intended for structures that you need to keep.
Just so you know, I
I don't know that this is a structure that the village.
We lost you, Steve.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, I looked at it for the whole underpinning process, which I have done before, but the construction of the 2x4 walls and the condition of it would not do well. I can tell you that. I've done this myself numerous times, and the way that structure is constructed, it's basically a shed. You know what I mean? It's a single-story shed as it is now, and it would not handle being maneuvered around to put a new foundation under it.
Do you two understand what underpinning is?
Okay. I've talked with Steve about it.
Okay. Very good. Then I think that, you know the situation, the whole situation. And if there are any questions, we're happy to field them. We're happy to take anything away, but that's what we're dealing with right now.
So if we are cleaving these in two as the demolition and then the rebuild, are you just interested in us voting on the demolition tonight? And you wanted to furnish those drawings with us for future approval of the building?
Well, I don't know.
That wasn't our understanding, but
I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, and maybe Steve could fill in that. We were kind of under the impression, and I don't know for sure, that this meeting was to approve demo so that we could get the drawings together, and that would be just for the new building permit. We didn't realize that it would need to come back before the board.
There seems to be a difference of opinion on whether or not you would need to come back, and that would have to be decided with the attorney and building inspector.
Understood.
Yeah, I think we reviewed this before, but I'm not sure they were reviewed for appropriateness or something like that, but I'm not sure we voted for it.
Let's just figure this out now so we aren't wondering what's going to happen.
Okay.
I heard Jenny say that this structure is going to be built exactly the same that the plans that were approved call for.
Yes.
My only question would be, how is that possible if they were going to build on top of what exists now?
Because the walls that remain were going to be modified for windows, et cetera. That's the only change. Instead of cutting holes in the existing walls to place windows in new windows in new locations where maybe there had been some windows and now you need more, or there were none and you need some. What was proposed was modifying the existing walls to remove garage doors and windows and
add the 2x6, and on top of the 2x4, I know that in some places the plate at the bottom also would need to be cut out and replaced because lag bolts are rusted over the 55 years since it's been there. So I really don't know how much the structure would have ever.
Right.
Well, I'm just trying to explain to the attorney what how he asked.
So we have the outside that's approved.
Yes, the outside has been approved.
Yes, the design has already been approved from the ground up. The design has been approved. The only difference is, which is below ground, they will be adding a proper footer. But the design itself is exactly the same as what this board approved already. They're not changing any of that. The only thing they had to come before this board for is the approval of the demolition. Other than that, the structure, the design, the materials have already been approved by the board.
Okay.
So I would suggest that your motion, if there is going to be a motion, should indicate that the structure that's going to be rebuilt has already been approved.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. All right, someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the demolition of the existing 1967 non-historic garage at the rear of 87
87.
South Main Street. How did I start that? Approve the demolition of the non-historic,
Of the existing,
the existing,
Of course, yeah.
non-historic.
Before 76?
Oh my God. All right.
well,
Ann?
it's not 76, it's 50 years.
Oh, yeah, well, almost at 80.
It is, but it's modern, pardon me for saying this, inferior construction.
I was gonna say poor construction, but it sounds like.
It's modern, inferior construction that is structurally insufficient for the work that has been approved already.
Okay, I got it.
And, right, further understanding
Transcription.
that the application for the actual construction has already been approved.
Yes.
I second that motion.
Member Cyril?
Yes.
Member Dubrasky?
Yes.
Chair Pollak?
Yes,
Motion passes.
okay.
So there were findings sort of intermixed in Jenny's motion, but additionally, when they did the 2015 expansion, the garage was deemed to be non-contributing for the National Register expansion.
So that should be written into the finding.
The non-contributing,
None.
non-historic, structurally insufficient garage is to be demolished in its entirety.
We won't
We
tell
won't tell it.
you said anything
Yeah.
about that.
We'll keep that.
I suggest,
I'm pretty sure it's on public record, so.
Yes.
I suggested to Steve if we hold this meeting in the garage.
Get the best.
I don't
As long as you
think
allow the
so.
public in, that would
But
have
you
been
know,
fine.
isn't that door bowling out a little bit, though? I noticed that driving.
Oh, yeah.
Just a little bit.
Is your insurance up to date? I might stand in it if the insurance is.
Yeah, it's funny after these findings, I thought she was parking cars.
I have to say, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Garages at this area, this town, this village had very few garages.
Yeah.
And typically they were built for one car only, one smaller car than we drive now, so mostly garages. Existing garages around here are a squeeze
Yeah.
to get into in any case.
Very good. I propose we
Do
Close
we need
this
findings
meeting?
back or
Are you
no?
proposing or making a motion?
make a motion that we close the meeting.
Second the motion?
Member Cyril?
Yes.
Member Dubrasky?
Aye.
Chair Pollak?
Yes.
Thank you all very much for taking care of this for these.
Steve,
Thanks, Steve, for jumping through hoops to accommodate me.
Steve, we're leaving the plans here.
Thank you so much.
Those unforeseen circumstances.
Might
Yeah.
keep popping up, right?
Yeah.
Is that the warning?
I've worked on lots of projects where
Yeah.
you open something up and go,
Oh,
Oh.